Buonasera, sono Hanru, direttore artistico di Maxi. Oggi abbiamo il piacere di invitare Navin Rawanchaikul di venire naturalmente online con noi per parlare sul suo progetto Ciao da Roma, che è appena aperto al Museo Maxi. Hi, Navin, how are you?
Hey, hello, good. How are you?
Good, good. And
Good.
this evening, we are very happy to have you and Donatella Saroli, who has been working with me and, of course, with you to develop this project, and Ahmad Ejaz, who is a journalist based in Rome, also have been working with you on this project.
Thank you. Hello.
Very, very nice to meet you. And Navin's project actually it's called da Roma. It was a specific or context-specific project that continues your research over the years on the migration trajectory of the South Asian communities across the world. Of course, you know, being an artist originated from a so-called Indian family, born in Thailand and growing up in Thailand, and also have been working, traveling, researching, developing projects all across the world, across different continents, to trace the particular history of this community, how they actually not only have been looking for ways of living better across the world, but also contribute better to the global transformation over the last, let's say, more than half a century. And in this particular project, we invited you to come to Rome in 2018 to develop a research project with the inhabitants in Rome and the region, the surrounding region. And this community consisting of people, you know, today can be seen as Indian, Pakistani, and Bangladesh, but actually in history, they were very closely related, linked as a community. And so in this project, you have been working with people living in this context, in doing different kind of social jobs and social roles, from, you know, restaurant owners to cricket players to journalists to cultural workers and shopkeepers and so on. And also what is really interesting is you explored the historical dimension of this fantastic situation of a community that has been trying to settle in different parts of the world, naturally in Rome. And so you actually look into a historical dimension from the participation of soldiers from this area, from this region in the First World War, almost a century ago, or actually a century ago, in Italy, being a part of the British Empire army, and to today's new generations who have been integrated and also claiming their important roles in the Italian society. And this reflects a very, very important kind of social transformation, cultural transformation towards a kind of multitude of a new cultural identity of this country. And also this, it's not only limited in Italy. Of course, this has to do with a general transformation all across the world. As you have been working in different parts of the world, meeting with people from, of course, Thailand, Japan, where you also live, to Dubai, to now to Italy, and so on. And in this process, you have been developing a highly colorful, very popular forms of expression that has been also kind of connected to a fantastic history of cultural production through, for example, the Bollywood films that becomes a red line connecting different people from this community across the world. And the storytelling on the painting is absolutely impressive, stunning, and very, very attractive to different kind of audiences, from a professional art audience to anyone on the street can find a kind of resonance in this imagery production, and then you decided to contribute to this work, donated this fantastic painting to the Maxi collection, and also making it into a very large billboard, reprinted on a large billboard that actually formed a kind of public place in the museum, that actually provided a kind of environment that one can really reconnect one's experience in the street life and the museum. And going with this, also you have written a very beautiful letter to the inhabitants in Italy from these communities, to tell your very emotional kind of impression of your encounters in this research process, and then make it into a beautiful film as well. And this is I would say, a fantastic project that help us to not only to develop the program of the museum towards a much more open, more diverse kind of a cultural dimension, and a connecting the museum with the world in a very particular and a powerful way. But in the meantime, it's also a very, very good momentum for us to try to go out of this very depressive period of lockdown with this fantastic colors and people with smiles on their faces, with beautifully cooked Indian foods, and beautifully represented kind of images. And I think that kind of happy moment is so much needed in our time. So now I want to pass to Donatella Saroli, who has been co-curating the project and working very closely with you over this period of research and development, to say a few words about her experience working with you before we turn to you.
Thank you, Hanru. Thank you to everybody. So I had the great fortune to work with the two of you, and with Navin. Navin arrived in September of 2018, and as soon as you got to Rome, we started walking around, and we started basically for a week. We were walking we were taking buses and trains and subways from your hotel, which was close to the museum, so close to Maxi, to Piazza Vittorio. From Piazza Vittorio, we would take the tram to Torpignatara, and actually the wonderful thing was just the way your practice works. Like we would get close to the stalls, and you would just start talking to people, ask you would show immediately your work, and people will ask you more questions, and then you would ask a few questions to know where they were from, how long they've been in Rome. So a very informal conversation in the buzz of the market and many situations. So Ejaz was one of the first people we went to visit at home, and through thanks to his experience of having spent all those years in Rome, because Ejaz arrived at the end of the 80s in Rome, we started, getting to know more people and go to the cricket site. And then it just directed us to, as Hanru was mentioning, to the cemetery, the Commonwealth Cemetery in Cassino. And then to Lavigno, because Google Alert had given you this information about Lavigno. So all these places are places where the community from the South Asia has been living since the early 90s. And in different, very different situations. People had just arrived. In Lavigno, we entered a grocery shop, and the man who was attending the shop just told us that the kid who had just entered had came with a family really recently. So you had the specter of migration from the early 90s to today. So after each meeting, basically Navin takes asked to take a picture, and from that picture, from that photograph, then you build this incredible what you call the community portraits. So this portrait that when you look at it, it gives you like really a profound sense of dignity and of being really proud of living in the city. The work we did together was also it was also interesting because we had a chance to connect with people who had been working on the territory for a long time. Some of the people we met, like Sultana Nayana. Sultana has a shop in Rome, and Nayana works as a cultural mediator, were people that we were introduced to thanks to Katyusha Kora, who has written a book on women from Bangladesh and how Rome has really changed in these years. So we were very lucky because Nayana and Sultana were generous with us, with our time, but it was also thanks to connections, like the relationships that had already been built before us, and that we were able to really nurture on. I have a few questions, but I will ask you once you talk more about your work. I just wanted to say that, as Hanru has mentioned, the gallery has your painting, and then has the poster, has the film, your letter, and the T-shirt, and postcards, which we will mention later as one of the ways you use to take your shows out of the actual galleries in the house of people.
So thanks for introduction, and I would like to present some image of my work, how the practice came from. So this is my dad who ran the shops in the market of Chiang Mai. He was born in Thailand, but the whole family came from India. This is the Punjab region in India. And many Punjabi who came from Punjab to Thailand, we start different work in different shops. But my family, we have a fabric shop in the market. It's called OK Store, and it started from 1957. And this painting was made for my dad as a gift for him when he turned 80 years old. But you can see them like a 5-person, it's a 5 generation our family. So my great grandfather who has a turban, and then my grandfather, my father, and me, and then my daughter who is basically half Japanese. So that's kind of like showing the identity, like transform from one generation and to my daughter who actually carry on the next generation. And looking back of my background, so my great grandfather who came from India, he had a turban, and then when and original name is Lawan, last name, and then when we came to Thailand, and my family took a Thai surname, to make it sound Thai, so we changed. My father changed to Rawanchaikul. This is my picture when I was a kid. You can see the whole, the 2 different names. And this is another painting I made for my dad when he turned 80 years old. It's called OK Family because our shop is called OK. And he actually, in the middle, surrounded with a lot of people who came from his neighbors and people from the family. You can see also people who are working with him, and like people who took him for lunch. And so I make this for him because he started to like we know that he will not take a much longer time for the shop, but I want to do a special exhibition for him, and as when he turned 80 years old. So actually this painting was hanged inside his shops, and he became part of his environment for a few months. And we surprised him with this, like he opened the shop and he have this painting inside his shops. So, and also my daughter who in Japan makes some gift for him because my dad loved ice cream. So my daughter make special ice cream for him, and like this kind of family story being passed on from generation to generation. And when I make this exhibition in his shops, also because we live upstairs, that was where I grew up, and I did not go back for 30 years because we moved to another house, but the shop's still there, is in the market. So I went back and I tried to look at different things, and when I was a kid, so a lot of inspiration, including some furniture or some old photos, and so I create kind of site-specific exhibition. And you can see, for example, this simple painting, but it's related to the environment there and the family memory, even my prayer rooms, and my sister and brother, we used to be in this room together, and my daughter who is in another place, so it's became exhibition that it's a part of family and memory and a change of times. And even my parents' bedroom, it is like totally, covered with dust for 30 years. So I clean up again and make into their wedding bedroom. And several works inside the room or even in the cupboard, and the letters become part of my work. So this, you can see in the wall, the letter to my mom, who actually passed away quite long ago. And a lot of things became part of my works, like from the environment. Like, for example, this one, I use the dust on the floor to paint and story. And we create even the band, So it's the diversity of the work we try to do. And then in the same time, I opened my studio because I'm run kind of like art production with the team. And we took the name of my father's shops, OK Store, and become Studio OK. That's kind of like a transition from one identity to another one. And I would like to go to a bit of a story of my background, because you are Indian origin, but I was born in Thailand. People in Thailand will call me Kak. Kak is the word for Thai that people will call Indian origin. Actually, they have two meanings. One is mean guest or visitor, but a bit of, imply of like outsider. And so in Southeast Asia also they have this word cling, So this is kind of like the word that I kind of having a bit of unhappy experience when I was a kid. I don't want to be called cat because I was born in Thailand. I want to be called Thai. So that's kind of my background when I was a kid. So I grew up with unhappy to be cat, So anyway, when I became father, I started to think about what should I talk to my daughter and about what is my root. So I look back at my root, and this is less than permit of my my grandfather. He came to Thailand, So look closely, and he actually, when he came to Thailand, his nationality is British, and then they crossed, and then they said Indian, and then they have the word race, or and it's Kak Hindu, this time, and the birthplace is Gujarat, India, and arrival was 1946, and from Gujarat. So, and then I also look at my mother, who actually she came after her father, but then she have the nationality Indian, the same. She came 2 years later. So I start to look at where they really came from and why they was called Kak or why they became how they came to Thailand. So I looking on his story. So I just use Google and try to interview some of the people from that generation, and I start to understand. Back in 1947, they have this Indian independence, which is after the war, and then the British kept them back independent. But in the same time, they have this ongoing conflict between India and Pakistan. Muslim community, and then the majority of Hindus. And so they have this partition of India. This is made into two countries. So India and Pakistan was established. Pakistan established. So I look at the image of that time, and my mother was about 5-6 years old, and I was told the same kind of story. When I look at this picture, my mother had to fled from her hometown to get out from her hometown because they have a civil war and people kill each other, and fire in the both sides were the Pakistan and India. So that's what I didn't know when my mother was alive. She did not tell me. I think she doesn't want to talk about the past, but somehow when I look at this, and then I start to curious about my root more and more, and then I want to know where actually. So Gujarat now is become part of Pakistan, but like you see from the first image of my grandfather is still India. So before I start to know, I Google again, and then I found the image and then I used art to combine a story of my mother and my daughter who was born in Japan. So it's kind of like fantasy, like the place where my mother migrate from, which is a train station in Jarawala, and then I have my daughter who play in the playground in Japan. So this is like a very personal painting. This is talk about my family, but somehow I put this in installation in the small gallery, which is I took also the sofa when I was a kid, and then the film I made. I interviewed 6-7 people who are same generation of my mother, and they told about how they came to Thailand, and this is very beginning how I start to get connect to the story of my mother after she passed away only 10 years. And the letter, you saw on the wall is a letter to her, and then like I kind of like to try to contact with the past, but also to communicate with myself and my daughter. So finally, I make it to Pakistan, and I want to go to Gujarat, and it was not easy. If I was told that I should not tell the embassy that I have a route in Pakistan. They will interview a lot. So I just say, okay, I'm going as a tourist. So I went there for about 2 weeks, and finally I made it to where my ancestor came from, and I saw the train station, the real one. After I came from the picture, and a lot of image. I took like 1,000 image, and interviewed a lot of people. And I mixed like Bollywood kind of like painting. It's called Place of Rebirth. It's like the place where where things like rebirth. Oh, this is kind of like the way I'm combining the image from the people I met there, and also people from my family, and the document of that, their passport and their certificate of living in Thailand. So it's a lot of things like combined from personal story and the history of these two countries. And I want to talk a little bit about this kind of painting, because I grew up, I didn't like CAG, but I grew up with Indian movie, and my mother watched Indian movie every day, and this kind of background is in our house, So the movie painting became part of our kind of like a culture, and in Thailand also we use this kind of Indian style movie painting for the cinema, which is kind of like a large scale. And when I was a kid, I loved to watch the man who painted this at the cinema, and I say, wow, it's really great how do you make it, So in 1997, when Hanru was invited me for a large show of contemporary art from Asia, so first time I kind of like appropriate this kind of movie painting from the cinema painting, and actually that was the end of the cinema painting. People start to use digital painting and all this kind of thing. So I commissioned and I work with real movie painters, and together we build this series of a painting and created. It's a fake story, but it's also kind of like a real person who involved in this different city when I show travel. And I start to use this for many cities, like this is New York, and I also interview people who are taxi driver. So I'm, my work trying to get into the street more and more. And you can see the painting was not just in the gallery, but it was in the market or in the taxi cab or on the street. This is. So I try more and more. I try to see how the work can go into different community. For example, this in Japan, like again, because I moved to Japan, live in Japan, I try to use also my Indian root to communicate with Japanese society. You can see this combination with the Japanese poem and Indian movie painting. And again, instead of putting a gallery, but on the outdoor, and it became a festival of local, even back to the old cinema, which is already abandoned, but I use again the old cinema to install my work for the community. And the comic books for another thing that I've been using as a storytelling when I interview people, and so I'm really interested of this kind of vernacular kind of art into my practice. Okay, so I'm quickly go back to his story again. When I was in Pakistan, I was taken to this place called Wagah Borders, which is every day in the evening they will have a lowering flag between India and Pakistan. They will take flag down, and they will have parade in the both sides. And so this borders, I prepared and I make this painting. And people who are standing here, they will have standing together. This is people from my different generation who came to Thailand. I mean, the Indian community in Chiang Mai. And every day at this place, they will have a lowering flag, and they will have the army from the both sides will come and kind of like celebrate, showing the action. And I'm appropriate to this kind of sculpture. it's a bit of fun, but also kind of critical of what message they're trying. And so I use myself and my daughter as a Japanese and holding the flag of Navin. It is my own kind of like a territory. It is I don't want to call country, but it's a borderless place. So I make this sculpture, I make the painting, and I make also like different, like in Venice, for example, we create Navin instead of Thailand. We have this Navin checkpoint, and we have declaration of Navin, which is talking, raising the question of nation. So that's became my kind of like more and more my interest of meaning of identity and so I'm talking about this T-shirt. You can see this T-shirt. Yeah, I would very proud of this T-shirt. When I was in Pakistan, I went to Gujarat, and one young artist just gave me this, and that time was very small. I could not wear it, and it took me 5 years. I went to Dubai, and this sorry. I was this lady was in the mall, and she came to me. I was walking into the mall and with my cameraman, and then this lady pointed to my T-shirt and said, "How come you have this T-shirt? This is my hometown," she said. So I explained to her I went to Pakistan and got this T-shirt and where my mother actually born, and so she was really happy. We talked only 5 minutes and we took a picture as memory. And I feel, I was in Dubai, which is a big city, and supposed to do something else, but this strange T-shirt brought me to meet someone who was, worker in this big city. So I'm very curious about how this destiny of this T-shirt was made me to meet this person, and I talked to my cameraman, and we said, "Oh, why don't we try to get to know more with people?" So I stayed there for 2 weeks, and every day I wash my T-shirt, and every morning I wear the same T-shirt, walk into the street, and trying to just, show up myself. And a lot of people interact with this T-shirt, and you can see, obviously, they are like worker, they are like a shopkeeper, they are working in a vegetable market, a cleaner. They are workers. They are obviously they're poor, and they build this city, and I'm really curious. So I start to talk to them, and some of them really scared to take photo, but I try to tell them that, this is for my own research, not think the government. But, I listen to their story, we have meal together, and then and I really want to know their story, how they came here. Some of them came, legally, some of them, stay longer. So I always communicate this kind of like a social story, and then I also, communicate personal. I always write my own diary and send to my daughters and my family. So this is a large of one of my postcards that I sent to my daughter, and because explain to her how this T-shirt happened in Dubai, and I make this painting after that. And I just took a lot of postcard image, but the people in this postcard image, the people from who I met in Dubai, So you can see a lot of them like workers, shopkeepers, the man who deliver lunch, and the background you see color and black and white, like a city between times. And when the Dubai was just a fishing village. And now it's like a tallest towers and rich city, right? And that kind of city image and the personal image kind of overlap, and of course a lot of personal kind of like story from one to another, which is I also make the film. And this T-shirt I'm really interested in that, and then because I get fatter, so I say let's make more, So we just I asked this young artist who gave me this T-shirt, and we actually print. I mean, he gave me one, but actually he agreed that I can make this same T-shirt. So later I make this T-shirt and brought into different places. You know, it's in Japan. I interview people in Yokohama, in Singapore, and I make also the show in Singapore about history of Indian in Singapore. And it's actually a center where they keep the heritage of the Indian center, but they're also curious to have a contemporary art in, you know, to tell the story. So it's very challenging for me to combine my work with this historical center. And finally, I want to know more about Indian in Thailand. It's my hometown. I mean, I already researched about my family. So I spent about more than 2 years traveling to many different cities and local city and suburb towns, and interview like about 500 people. And we back to the studio and we create this kind of large scale painting, which I call community portrait. And you can see this is it's combined many panels, and more intense, like a movie painting became really like almost like a Thai mural painting or collage of and we have exhibition. It's about Indian diaspora in Thailand. It is not just about using the art, but also we try to promote like a story of Indian in Thailand through different medias. This is the view exhibition that you can see inside the old warehouse, which is again not a gallery, but is I convert the one old warehouse to be extended space. Okay, so a few more images. I think it's slowed down now. Okay. So yeah. And my dad's shop has been created in this exhibition. You can see like okay. So when Hanru met me in Japan, and I was working in another project in Mori Museum, I said, well, oh, he wanted me to come to Italy. So I said, okay, I'm happy to go, but I don't know what I should do. So before I went there, I Googled, and then I came up with this word, desi. And he said, oh, you know, they have this word, it means Indian in Thailand, Indian in Europe, they will call people who came from a South Asian community, and product or culture, they call desi. So it's quite similar to my experience as a cat, right? So I'm really curious. So I before I went there, I Googled, and then I just knew only few places from internet, and then I told the museum that, you know, can we trying to visit all these places, and some places were quite difficult because it's a kind of like a, you know, people who doesn't want to show their identity, right? So I live just naturally, and I try to meet from one person to another person, and mostly they are Bangladeshi. We from the market, and from one shop to another shop, and then to the cricket playground. You know, one because the agent told me, like, you know, I should see the cricket, because cricket is no border. They have all people who came from different nationality. They will play together, you know, India, Pakistan, and, you know, Bangladesh. So I went there on Sunday, and then I'm trying to interview them, and they invite me for lunch, and very kindly, and then, you know, so, and a number of them, you know, already live there, have shops, and we interview. And I went to the religious centers. You know, you can see Muslim or Hindu or some of them, they're already born in, you know, the kids, like they're born in Italy. So that's kind of like my experience when I was a kid. So that somehow made me to think about his story too, because I think, so I tried, because to understand history, how Indian came to Italy. I mean, this is a new generation, but already have back in during the Second War, they only have the big Indian army came, and they call Kulakan army. And I went to the cemetery and, you know, trying to make a link between people. And all this story again, you know, written and been in my letters and postcard. I sent, you know, this is what I sent to my father, I sent to my daughter in Japan. And so when we came back to Chiang Mai, and we have like again thousands of images. So I share in my studio. Let's make one billboard painting, like a record of my journeys. And I think the word Ciao da Roma came from postcard, right? I mean, like ciao, everybody ciao, ciao. I say, okay, it's like these people, you know, in Loma, but this all you can see all these people, they are not European, right? You can see obviously they are South Asian. So this kind of identity question is still be a part of my practice, and I think it's something that I want to explore into my art, and even not just in the art frame of art, but it's so I would give this to finally I met this T-shirt I met my brother in Roma, because Donatella took me to his house, right? And then when I wear this T-shirt again, and I went to his house, and when he see this T-shirt, he said the same thing. Oh, how can you come? How have you this T-shirt? This is my hometown. But you know, this time I said, okay, let's talk, and I give you a gift. I have an extra T-shirt. Huh? So I would love to hear what he thinks. You know, Ejaz. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Navin.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Donatella.
Yes. Yeah.
I think there's
Ejaz, right?
really during this incredible research travel or kind of adventure, I would say, kind of exploration of the unknown but already known somehow. I think one of the incredible meetings that Navin has made was with Ahmad. As you know, he's actually wearing the same T-shirt today.
Yeah.
Ahmad, maybe you can tell us how do you felt? How did you feel when you meet with Navin?
Yes, it is very emotional for me because Gujranwala is not a big city, and so see one person from Thailand, and I am in Rome, and both are from Gujranwala. So it's very emotional for us because the separation of India and Pakistan was very bloody. You know, 1 million people were died, and I am an intercultural mediator and journalist. So I am working for integration of sub people in Italy for more than 20 years, and I have many instruments to show the Italian where we come from, why we are different, and our identity, and our central point of our culture is marriage. So Navin put all these instruments in one picture. This is a really very, very interesting work. And people ask, Donatella said to me that Navin lived in Rome or in Italy for many years because he knows our all our story of subcontinent immigrants in Italy, but I was talked to him just in 2 or 3 days. We were talked just at dinner time. but he took everything which I said, and he went to discover. This is really a very interesting thing for me. For me, there are many emotional times in this picture, because my father was died, and my two sons, male sons in Pakistan, are very, happy moments, and they were born after. He put my father with my sons. So this is very emotional also for my sister who live in Lahore in Pakistan. When she seen this picture, that your sons are with our father. Also in this picture we have mosque and Vatican together, and our history. We Pakistani Indian came to Italy in 1980s, after in 90s, but we were here in Second World War, and more than 60,000 soldiers and 6,000 were killed here in Italy to liberty of Italy against Nazi fascism. So this is our contribution. And now today our contribution is our shops, our work, in land, Italian land, we work, and we are giving many things to this country. And I think that this picture, in future, I want to use in schools and in other parts of Italy to show integration is possible. Because many racist political leaders and populist leaders, they say that integration of different culture is impossible. Because today you have seen Rohingya in Burma, and Kashmir problem, and also in China, and people of Uyghuri. So many minorities in the world are suffering, and to see these three countries, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan, are in war in their land, but in Rome they are together. There are different books, but there was no picture painting in over 30 years history. We have a small history of immigrants, and he shows us, and he given us this big gift. So we want to use this gift to show other people, Italian people, mostly racist people, that integration is possible. If we are in war in Pakistan and India, here we are brothers, and brotherhood can possible. And Navin has a mentality to give us, this new rebirth, this new mentality of we can live without also land. We are a kak, also in Italy we are stranieri. But we can create new world, a new world, mixed world, and we can mix our thinkings, and we have taken. I have taken many things from Italian culture in 30 years. My wife is Italian, so when I dream in Italian and Punjabi. This thing is very beautiful, and in my dream, things are mixed. I have a Pakistani bazaar and Italian via, Italian square. So this is our mentality, because we are new people of the world, immigrants, and we are more than 200 million immigrants in the world, and we can give new chance, to people who believe in hate, in war, in atom bomb. And I think all these things are bullshit. Big thing is create an encounter, discussion, and thinking, and create new world, intercultural world. Thank you, Navin. I thanks you from all my subcontinent community who live in Rome and in region Lavigno and other small cities where you visited. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmad. It's so beautifully kind of concluded this sentiment shared by the different people from the community, I guess. Also, I think it's also sharing the voices of many people outside the community, namely the so-called Italians, right? Actually, Italy is finally a society with a lot of multicultural contributions, and not only from the skin color, but really, you know, people, as you said, dream in different languages, in different, you know, they taste in different foods and so on. And of course, you know, they also have a potential to embrace a different aesthetics. As you know, Navin's work has been showing not only, you know, he is a contemporary artist, but very particular a contemporary artist who can bring a so-called, you know, popular culture into the field of highly conceptual, highly sociological, and geopolitical kind of discussions. And that it's extremely important for us to actually open the museum towards, you know, this how to say, this new imagery production that actually embraced a kind of, you know, diversity of, you know, equally contemporary resources, which are also helping us to rethink, you know, the definition of modernity, the definition of contemporary, and so on, that actually also further to help us to open up the museum towards the different, you know, publics. And for example, you know, the community from the subcontinent may not be the most active public to come to a contemporary art museum so far, but really I think Navin's project can help us to open up a lot, and we are really hoping to embrace this new public, especially the younger generation. And I really was very touched when you come in family for the opening, to with your wife and your sons, and you know, and also friends to come, you know, into the museum, and that is, you know, something that you wanted to do more in the future. Thanks to, you know, Navin's project, we have a very, very good how to say, excuse to make it much more, you know, much more open, much more accessible to all kind of, you know, public. And I guess Navin, maybe you can have a final comment, or Donatella can make a final comment, because time is a little bit short. But
I think that's really something, you know, like it get into the flow, and then you can see how, for me, the best reward every time after I make the work, it's a response from the community, and they feel they co-own the work, you know, like they feel the work is a part of their life and their environments. And I think that's something really important. It's not just collected by the museum or collectors, but it's, you know, the work that's be part of their life. And I think this is something I hope that the work can be promoting longer, and you know, in different way. Like, you know, like now is really difficult, you know, it's starting to be difficult to come to the museum, but maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we can find a way that this work can can explore into different community, even on site or online, and we can create this even little events. And through this work can create their own version of their own events. This doesn't have to be part of my work, but it can create their own communication with the local city. And so I really hope that the museum and the community over there can think about this possibility, especially like right now. And I will be happy to participate whatever I can from here. And for example, maybe we can do co-events between Thailand and local community there. So, and that's what I hope you can develop more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So Donatella, do you have a last comment?
No, I just wanted to actually end. It's wonderful to listen to all these insights. So I wanted to close with a quote from Navin, the painting, which is, "World is in flux and our notions of home are changing." And I think that's such a beautiful reminder of how we can go on creating from this awareness of this constant change and rethinking of our notions of home. And yes, I think this can be the first episode, and can just go on and develop more. So that's wonderful. Thank you. And of course,
I think Maxi is the new home for all. Thank you very much, and hope Navin can come back to this home and have all of you.
Maybe I will cook, and together with all these friends, we can do a big party.
Great, I'm hungry now. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. See you soon. Take care.
Thank you.